Hey everybody, welcome back to BobkeTV time once again for the BroomWagon. Up this week, the good, the bad, and the ugly return. Racing already underway in the Southern Hemisphere. Musette Musings. Nicole Cooke goes off. So awesome. On British cycling amongst other subjects. And of course, Qatar. News from Qatar, not good news. And the tweet of the week. All that up on the BroomWagon. Okay, everybody, first up in the BroomWagon, the good, the bad, and the ugly from the Mitchelton Bay Cycling Classics, a series of criteriums in the early season every year. A lot of big names in the annals of Australian cycling winning the overall title at the Mitchelton Bay Classics. The crits, amongst them Mark Renshaw, Baden Cook, Caleb Ewan's won 3, I believe, already in his young career. That's impressive. Graham Brown, I believe, is another former winner. But this year, the overall winner is a Brit named Ian Bibby for the men. And Valentina Scandalora continues her winning ways in the women's series. The LA cycling rider, Valentina Scandalora, has already won very end of last year down in Australia, so keeping the ball rolling. She was the most consistent. She got the lead early with the win in the first one. This is a series of 3 crits, so 3 days of racing. And the good, Valentina Scandalora. The good, also Ian Bibby, taking advantage of good positioning and strong tactics. He was actually working for some of his teammates, but was able to stay upright when the bad and the ugly occurred on the very first day, the first crit. Caleb Ewan taken out, last lap crash, and subsequently Ian Bibby, the most consistent thereafter. Michael Hepburn also with a win, and Caleb Ewan did come up with the goods on day number 3, I believe it was. And so exciting racing to get started. Bad luck for Caleb Ewan, won't be the winner again this year, but one of the fastest sprinters in the business, and is starting to make inroads against the very best in sports. And it's going to be really interesting to see how Caleb Ewan does throughout the season for the Orica Scott team, and looking very sharp in their new kit. So congratulations to Ian Bibby, the overall men's winner, and Valentina Scandalora sprinting very quickly, the overall women's winner. Also, let's take a look at the team kits. First up, Lotto Soudal, the very sharp red. Wehrmacht is the clothing supplier, has been for a number of years, if I'm not mistaken, and looking very sporty, almost identical to last year. I can't really divine any changes whatsoever, so it should be not easy to pick them out in the peloton during the races, but Lotto Soudal, the name will stay the same, and the colors very, very similar. Also, let's have a look at the Lotto Jumbo team. Lotto Jumbo, another lottery-sponsored team. This team from the Netherlands, formerly known as Rabobank, been in the sport a long time. They were sponsored for one season. They were called Blanco when they were in between sponsors, and the Rabobank sponsorship deal carried over for one season. And then Belkin was the next sponsor, and Lotto Jumbo taking over the year before last, if I'm not mistaken. And I believe it's Shimano that's providing the clothing for the Lotto Jumbo squad. Most certainly, their new road shoe, the S-Fire, is on the jersey. Very similar to last year. Yellow trunk, black sleeves. I'm not sure how they get away with racing in this jersey in the Tour de France. It's a little confusing. Be that as it may, very similar to last year. And if you don't remember what you are looking at, and you're a fan of Dutch cycling or worldwide cycling, you can see the Lotto ping pong ball numbers across the top of the jersey, so that should erase any confusion. But best of luck in those two squads. I try to keep straight. A lot of Yumbo, a lot of Sudal. If you just say Yumbo now in the commentary, could be a rider from either team. So it's one of the few teams where the co-sponsor is always included in the commentary, just to differentiate between the two teams. So any sponsors out there, if you're the co-sponsor, make sure you sponsor one of the lotto teams. So and you will be mentioned every single time one of the riders appears on the screen, more or less. So all right, everybody, next up, the Musette Musings, very interesting comments from Nicole Cooke. Okay, everybody, up on the Musette Musings, Nicole Cooke weighs in on the recent parliamentary hearings into the contents of a Ziploc bag delivered to Bradley Wiggins back in 2011. A little bit earlier last year, end of 2016. So Nicole Cooke, former world champion, Olympic champion. She has written an article for The Guardian, and very well written, very concise, very eloquent, which is typical of the women's professional cycling peloton. And the men's a long ways behind. Let's just be honest about that. Anyways, she raises some very intriguing questions. I had a few of my own, but Nicole Cooke, deep in the British cycling system for many years and to great success, apparently none of the staff on British Cycling that were questioned had any idea what the contents of the medical delivery were to Bradley Wiggins, which is not consistent with Nicole's experience, which she quotes that medical privacy was one of the first things surrendered to be a part of the British cycling program. And so why does nobody know what's in the Ziploc bag? It's a very, very good question. Number two, why was the women's national coaching director, Simon Cope, used as merely a courier to deliver this package rather than do his job? And he also has stated during the questioning in front of Parliament that he conducted a number of training camps for Team Sky that included Bradley Wiggins, which Nicole Cooke found a little bit disturbing, because after numerous requests to have a single camp for the women's cycling team before the Copenhagen World Championships, she was denied again and again and again by Simon Cope. And why is he a courier for medical supplies to Team Sky that's completely outside his job description as women's national coach? And if we recall, Dave Brailsford initially said he was delivering the package to Emma Pooley, and Emma Pooley reassured everybody that she was in Spain, many hundreds of kilometers away, and could not have been the recipient of that package. So very, very good question. But this I'd like to quote directly, and this is a question for everybody out there. I'd like you to answer this question that Nicole Cooke posits, is that the right word, in her article in The Guardian. Is British Cycling and Team Sky as sexist, incompetent, and parochial as it appeared in the questioning session at Parliament? So very, very good questions by Nicole Cooke, and some very, very strongly worded criticisms of British Cycling and Team Sky that should be addressed, that should be answered. And if Dave Brailsford cannot do that adequately, he should resign from his position as director, manager of Team Sky. That's my opinion. I stated that previously. And it's nice to get some similar questions from the athletes that are involved. And hopefully in the future, the athletes will feel compelled to weigh in on this, And you don't oftentimes get that because everybody wants to avoid controversy. But I think in the fight against doping, everybody has to come forward, that's Racing Clean, and express their disappointment at what this situation has brought forth and what the actual culture is at Team Sky. And their culture of transparency and cleaner than clean and above reproach is not true. That's not accurate. And so everybody please weigh in on this, and I'm sure we have not heard the last of this by any stretch of the imagination. Okay, elsewhere, the Tour of Qatar, as you will, is gone. Will not happen in 2017. Pretty disappointing. It was an interesting race. Wind battles dominated. Sprinters usually won the additions and all the stages, and dead flat, pancake flat, just like the World Championships that were there this past year, won by Peter Sagan, by the way. But the Tour of Qatar was generally windy and quite warm. Some days so warm that it was very tough on the peloton. But it was the crosswinds that were the real defining characteristics of the Tour of Qatar, and no surprise that the Belgian, Dutch, fast, stronger riders were able to stay at the front, follow the early echelons, and be successful. And wind battle racing is a completely different discipline than most professional even cyclists are accustomed to. And when there's consistent high winds that come at the peloton at any sort of angle at all, it absolutely obliterates the field as much, or even more sometimes, than mountain stages. I enjoyed racing in the crosswinds when I was a professional, and so it's a shame to see the Tour of Qatar go. I think that the race was initiated in the hopes that they could have a World Championships there, and that happened this last fall, and it's a shame that once they reach their goal, they have pulled out of their race, and it's disturbing, it's disheartening. The schedule is getting pretty packed in with races no one's ever heard of, but out of all of those, the Tour of Qatar is going to be missed by me. Anyways, there's plenty of other races throughout the calendar, and it looks like there's a new race in China later in the year, not a spring race. And so the riders that want to do well in the spring classics are going to have to find other races, maybe in continental Europe, to prepare for the spring classics. The Tour of Qatar was one of the best for that. All right, everybody, enough monkey business, enough music musings. Next up, the tweet of the week. Tweet of the week, coming to us this week from Mark Cavendish, first one in 2017. Appropriate for many, I would imagine. Anyone never ever drinking again after last night? I think that SpongeBob with a sharp hat and a horrible hangover, it looks like. Been there many times. This year was not one of them, thankfully. So for me, at least. But for anybody out there that overdid it on New Year's Eve, Alka-Seltzer helps. And believe it or not, a bike ride. So if you get a chance to ride and ease off the drinking for a few days, you'll probably be better in no time. Anyways, 2017 is upon us, and thanks everybody for watching. Please comment in the comments section. Please follow me on Facebook and Twitter to get notifications of when I'm doing these. And subscriptions are absolutely essential. If you'd like to subscribe, just click on my face, and if you would like to buy some merchandise, some BobkeTV, go to the merchandise icon and click on that. Thanks a lot, everybody.